would like to relate to you 4 reasons why you should learn Hebrew. The first is religious reasons. The Hebrew Bible was, of course, written predominantly in Hebrew. That's why it's called the Hebrew Bible. And this constitutes what Christians call the Old Testament. If you want to learn the Old Testament in the original language is not Old King James English, nor is it Greek. It's Hebrew. There are a small portions of the Hebrew Bible, of the Old Testament, that are in Aramaic, not in Hebrew. Aramaic is a language that is very closely related to Hebrew, however, and those books are the book of Daniel and also the book of Ezra. Now, in both of these books you have both Hebrew and Aramaic, but all the rest of the Old Testament is written in Hebrew. So, of course, if you learn the original language, you can find much more depth and meaning and insight into the Bible and into otherwise controversial passages, some of which may not really be that controversial or vague if you actually study it in the Hebrew Bible. On the flip side, there are verses that I'm sure you will find which you always thought could only be understood one particular way, but when reading them in Hebrew you'll find out that, hey, maybe they aren't that black and white. So learning the biblical language will open your eyes religiously, spiritually, when it comes to study of the Hebrew Bible. The other reason I would say is for historical reasons. Of course, the Bible is largely a historical book, even if you want to discount or disregard the records of miracles and such. Again and again, every year, more archaeological evidence is found that backs up and corroborates the biblical accounts. Not only is the Bible written in Hebrew, the Old Testament, one of the oldest bodies of literature in human history, but it is also one of the most archaeologically verified documents in history. And whether or not one embraces the entire message of the Hebrew Bible or believes in its miracles, there is no doubt the extent to which the narrative of the Hebrew Bible has influenced history in numerous ways. So learning Hebrew for the sake of having greater historical insights, not only into the Hebrew Bible, but also other Hebrew texts and manuscripts which were written that are not included in the Bible. Learning Hebrew will enable you to research those texts in the original language, many of them which haven't even been translated to English yet, much less other non-Hebrew languages. Learn Hebrew for the sake of truth, for the sake of political insight and knowledge. Unfortunately, many people in the media and in pop culture have very strong views regarding the state of Israel and the Jewish people. So by learning Hebrew, you will be able to get to the root of these issues. You will be able to expose yourself to Israeli media, to find out what Israeli Jews really think, what they don't think that you may have thought they think. You will also be able to gain insight into the Israeli Arab population, what are by some people called Israeli Palestinians, or Palestinians with Israeli citizenship. Yes, such people do exist. They constitute about 20% of the Israeli population. By learning Hebrew, you will be able to hear their views firsthand in Israeli media, in their own media. They upload videos to YouTube and other social media websites, and you can see firsthand what Israeli Arab experience is like in Israel and what it's not like. And by this means, come to a more informed and intellectually honest understanding of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Of course, the same goes with anti-Semitic claims which predate the re-establishment of the State of Israel. I know that one of the things that got me motivated to learning Hebrew was an anti-Semitic pamphlet that was distributed to every driveway on my street when I was about 14 years old. And in that pamphlet I saw all kinds of fairly extreme claims against the Jewish people, many of which actually carry over and influence anti-Israel sentiment throughout the world. So by learning Hebrew, I was able to confirm or debunk these claims, and I would like you to be able to do the same thing for yourself and not have to rely on other people to do so. Finally, I would encourage everybody to learn Hebrew, because Hebrew, with all of its historical, religious, and political significance and great influence throughout history upon a myriad of cultures in Africa, the Middle East, Asia, and Europe. In addition to all this, only around 5 million people on Earth speak Hebrew, only about 5 million. And before the revival of the State of Israel in the last century, the numbers were far fewer. This is a truly precious language, which was on the brink of extinction. And now, although it's no longer on the brink of extinction, it is still, the amount of people who learn it and know it is still far below what is due to the prestige of this language. So by learning this language, you will be able to facilitate the preservation of the ancient language of the ancient Israelites, with the added benefit of being able to carry conversations with your friends, if they also choose to learn, in public places, and have private conversations in public with a very, very minuscule chance that anyone will know what you're talking about, because so few people know Hebrew. That, unlike if you were to learn Spanish or French, in which case there are actually a number of people who know at least a little bit of French or Spanish throughout the US. But Hebrew, it's very unlikely. You could tell your spouse whatever you want in a public place that you may otherwise be embarrassed to say, or feel a need to quietly whisper, which would be very awkward. Or you could choose Hebrew to be like the secret language between you and your spouse, so that your children won't understand. So I hope you enjoyed these reasons for learning Hebrew and felt inspired to take up the mission, the goal of learning the language of ancient Israel, the language of the Hebrew Bible. And let me know in the comments below whether this video motivated you to take on this challenge. All the best. Shalom uvracha.